Hello people, and welcome back. After his humiliating defeat at the hands of his own creation, Cortex is back and he seems to have had a change of heart, seeking out the help of his former rival to save the world. But Crash isn't going to put his morals to the side even if it is to save the world, and is refusing to break any boxes unnecessarily. Can you beat Crash Bandicoot 2 without breaking any boxes? The same rules apply as with our Crash 1 run. We're not allowed to break any boxes by any means. If there are any boxes that are needed to break to continue, this will become a minimalist run. Number 2, if a box is accidentally broken, I must either quit or die to reset the level. Number 3, we must clear every main level of the game. Also, just like with the last run, pity Aku-Akus are allowed as long as we don't use them to avoid any otherwise unavoidable boxes. The last time we tried this in Crash 1, we couldn't even get past the second level, but Crash 2 is a very different beast and one that I'm much more confident with. So, let's see, can you beat Crash Bandicoot 2 without breaking any boxes? Before we can really get started, we have this little tutorial area. All the boxes here are no problem to avoid, and not long in, we find the portal to the warp room. Here, Cortex contacts us, saying he's turned over a new leaf and is asking for our help to save the world by collecting 25 power crystals. Now, I'm all for a redemption arc, so let's help him out. The warp room acts as our level select this time around, giving us 5 levels to choose from at any one time. I'll be going clockwise through these, so let's start with level 1, Turtle Woods. Getting through this level is no problem, especially with Crash's improved moveset from the first game. Flashbacks to this area in Crash 1 did set in a little coming to this wall here. Trying to get over it normally, we bonk off the roof straight into the box wall. Luckily though, Crash has some new tricks up his shorts this time. By pressing the circle button, we can crouch, and doing this as we walk, we can do a slide. Jumping out of this gives us a much higher and longer jump, letting us get over much higher stacks of boxes. Using this, we can get over this wall easily. Down the path a bit, we find the crystal for this level. In basically every level, these are just laying out free for the taking. I actually knew going into this level that we can beat it boxless, since we're actually awarded with a blue gem for getting through it without breaking anything, making this the first gem in the entire series we can actually get. This one is a simple boxless win. Level 2, Snow Go, is our first ice level of the game. The ice physics make this harder, but luckily that doesn't come into play much here. The level is slightly longer than the last, and if you remember from my Crash 1 run, longer levels are the worst since we can't break any of the checkpoint boxes, meaning we need to do each level in one try. This time though, we have a saving grace in the form of these bonus rooms. Unlike in the first game where we had to get these tokens from boxes to unlock them, these ones are open from the get-go. Most of these are incomplete, but by entering them and intentionally jumping to our demise, we set our spawn to just outside the bonus room. This doesn't even waste a life since we don't lose them in bonus rooms. Since these areas are usually about halfway through the level, this gives us a lot of breathing room if we die, as long as we can reach them. This wall of boxes is a little intimidating, but easy to sneak behind and grab the crystal. This is another easy boxless level, meaning we've already gotten further than we did in Crash 1.
Know this, as long as you are allied with Cortex, you are my sworn enemy, and I will do anything in my power to stop you.
Dude, he's changed. He's trying to save the world. Give him a chance. Level 3, Hangade. This is another level that's very easy to get the crystal boxless, however, that's not all there is to get in this level. You see, after you get on the first jet ski, you'll start a mini time trial, and by completing it, we're awarded with a clear gem without needing to break anything. Now, we don't really need to collect this as it's not part of the run, but I basically decided from the start I want to see which gems I could get within these rules, so let's see if you can beat this time trial without breaking anything. It starts as you walk up to the first jet ski segment. This thing is very hard to control and has a mind of its own, making it very hard to navigate around boxes. I found I had my most success by just going for it rather than just being careful and lightly tapping the stick. In the first jet ski area, just stick to the right wall and boost as much as possible, only stopping to move around this whirlpool. Once off the jet ski, skip as much of the intended platforming as possible with slide jumps. I also spin when I slide jump because it feels slightly quicker and like it gives me a bit more air time, but that could just be my mistake. In the second ski section, after you boost between the two whirlpools, stick to the left wall until you pass the jump ramp, then switch to the right one. Be careful when close to the boxes and do a circle around the last one to jump off the ramp and over the wall. Deal with the last plant and you should be able to score the hidden gem with no boxes with 8 or so seconds to spare. While again, this isn't necessary for the challenge, I would recommend doing it as it was pretty satisfying to pull off. On to level 4, the pits, and this is another easy one. I don't really even have much to say about it, so I'll take this as an opportunity to talk about dealing with enemies. You see, spinning, as well as in Crash 2's case, sliding enemies, sends them flying off into the distance, and until they disappear completely, they can still break boxes. In my Crash 1 vid, I feel like I made it sound like you should never spin enemies, but that's not really the case. Spinning enemies is the easiest way to deal with them, so you'll want to use it when possible. Just take each enemy on a case-by-case basis, and if there's a large stack of boxes right behind them, maybe think twice before spinning. Also, if you're unsure if an enemy you sent flying broke any boxes, you can always press the circle button to check your total at any time. At the fork in the road, take the left path. Either way should be doable, but the left houses the crystal, so just go that way to start with to avoid any backtracking. You can actually avoid all the pits with mole enemies with well-timed sliding jumps, but they aren't hard to get through normally, so this is just a small time save. With that, we clear the pits with 0 boxes. Level 5, Crash Dash, is our last level for this warp room and is our first boulder chase level. Once again, it's no problem getting past all of the boxes here without breaking them. You can even use all of the boost pads safely, so you might be surprised when you reach the end and see that apparently you've broken a whopping 16 boxes. If you watch my Crash 1 video, you know what's going on here. Basically, for whatever reason, the boxes destroyed by boulders are added to our total. Great if you're going for the gem, but not for this run. For my last run, I decided that boxes broken like this shouldn't count, as it's not me and rather the game breaking them itself. Look, I had every opportunity to break those boxes and chose to spare them. Anything that happened after that ain't my business. Since I know some people will disagree with my decision here, I'll do what I did last time and count these as ghost boxes, and you can add them to the score at the end if you like. That being said, we leave Crash Dash with 16 ghost boxes broken. Ripperoo is our first boss. Some people might say the explosive panels he makes count towards our total since they are themed after Nitros and TNT, but to that I say, a square does not a box make, meaning we beat Ripperoo and move on to the next warp room.
Crash, is that you? I've been looking everywhere. I don't have much time to tell you this. You have to be careful. Trusting Cortex seems a little unwise, Crash.
No, not you too, Coco. He's a changed man for Pete's sake. Speaking of Coco, despite her clearly not believing in rehabilitation, she's still a more fabulous Bandicoot, so swap to play as her. Also remember to save, as unlike in Crash 1, this game doesn't autosave after each level, so unless you want to be like me and have to replay the first warp room again, don't forget to save. Level 6, Snow Biz, is our second ice level of the game and features a lot more of the stuff, making it a much more annoying play. The boxes in the 2D section are kind of inconsistent with whether you can walk around them or not. These ones you can, but not these ones for some reason. Luckily, any that can't be walked around can be jumped over, though they can be pretty tight jumps, so be prepared to give it several goes. No idea what was happening on the ice here. I'm holding right the entire time pretty much, but I just can't get past. Guess that's Crash 2 ice physics for you. Anyway, there's not really much to this level, making it another easy boxless clear. Level 7, Air Crash. This is our second jet ski level, and while the platforming is harder, the level itself is made significantly easier by not having a time trial for us to complete. The first set of boxes on the jet ski are very close together and hard to avoid, but not impossible. The easiest path is to weave between the first 3 boxes and then stick to the platform. This platform actually takes us to a secret level if we stand on it, but unfortunately we need to use these boxes as a bridge to do so, making it inaccessible. When moving between these walls, stick to the middle one like glue to avoid destroying any of the boxes here. Don't jump off any of the ramps except for the one to get over the wall, as there are boxes above all of them. Now, after you get the crystal, you can get to the end of the level normally boxless, or if you're brave, take the optional no death path. I actually recommend this since the only boxes are nitros, meaning they have to be laid out in a way that's possible to get around. Doing it this way also scores us a free clear gem if you care about that sort of thing. Either way, we can add this one to our boxless pile. Back in the warp room, abuse Polar for some extra lives and then move on to level 8 Barrett. This is a Polar stage, the Crash 2 equivalent of the hog riding stages from Crash 1. It's pretty simple to avoid all of these boxes, but apparently the game let another Bandicoot or something go through the level just ahead of us because we keep coming across these TNT boxes with their timers already started. Now again, some people might disagree, but I'm going to count these as ghost boxes. After all, it's not my fault these boxes got set off, it's the game for letting another mysterious lunatic Bandicoot run through here with ill intent. That being said, there are 6 of these TNT boxes, bringing our ghost box total to 22. This is a little concerning, since this is already 2 more ghost boxes than my playthrough of Crash 1. Now, since I don't personally count ghost boxes, this isn't really that bad, but it is a concerning omen that maybe this run isn't going to be as easy as I expected. And the carnage doesn't end here, it continues in level 9 Crash Crush, another boulder chase level, and once again we can avoid everything easily while the boulder can't, this time crashing through 20 boxes, bringing our ghost box total to a staggering 42. Level 10, the Eel Deal. This one isn't too hard, though I'm not really fond of these sewer levels due to how cramped they feel. The path splits go to the right to find a room full of nitro boxes and a dead end, which might seem a little pointless. Why are they here if you don't even need to go down this path? Well, if you parkour your way past the nitros to the end, you can Danny Phantom your way through the back wall to find a secret area. This is something I love about this game, how well hidden the secrets are in plain sight. At the end of this platforming challenge is the green gem, adding another gem to our total. You can work your way back through the secret area to get to the main path, but if you do die, you'll keep the gem as long as it's not a game over. Go down the left this time, and when you come to the second fork, go to the left again to grab the crystal before continuing the level down the right. There's nothing on the monkey bar segment that's unavoidable, making the sewer level a pretty easy boxless clear. The Komodo Bros fight doesn't have any boxes, so we can move on to the third warp room. Level 11 Plant Food is our third and final jet ski level and the hardest of all of them, once again purely thanks to the time trial. The level is a lot longer than the first one and the obstacles much harder to avoid, making the time limit significantly tighter. On the first jet ski segment, stick to the right wall and boost as much as possible. You'll need every spare second to do this, so you'll need to boost almost every chance you can. When you come to the 3 whirlpools with nitros behind them, unmagnetize from the right wall to get around one of them. Back on foot now, you'll want to take as many shortcuts as possible, so get used to slide jumping across long gaps. Don't spin this plant here, as every time I tried, they ended up shooting straight into the boxes behind. On the jet ski again, stay as far away from the plant as to not activate them and weave between the second and third box. With these 2 plants here, there is a perfect route to stay far enough away from both of them to not get eaten, but it's very specific, so if you have a pity Aku Aku, I'd just sacrifice it here to get past. Before you get to the next jet ski segment, go down the path to the right to deal with all of the plants. First 2 are avoidable on the jet ski, but as far as I can tell, the 2 at the end will always eat you no matter how you try to get past them, so they need to go. Don't spin them as there are boxes they can hit, and this close to the end we don't want to have to restart. Backtrack to the jet ski and jump aboard. You should still have around 14 seconds, which is tight but doable. Boost through the last jet ski segment and jump over the nitros as fast as possible to maybe just barely nab the yellow gem. Holy cow, that was tight. I think I managed to get it literally at the last possible moment before it despawned. Again, if you're not going for the gems, you don't have to do this, making the level a lot easier, but if you're up to the challenge, you can score both the gem and the crystal in this level completely boxless. Level 12, Sooner or Later. Since we got the yellow gem in the last level, we can access the gem path for another free clear gem. The end of the gem path spits us out in front of this stack of boxes on the normal path. A normal jump can't clear it, so slide into the metal crates and jump to give you enough height. At the split, take the path to the left to grab the crystal, then backtrack and take the right path to the end of the level. Once again, the sewer levels are pretty easy, so we can get through with no boxes, no problem.
Crash, thank goodness! I hacked into Cortex's computer and found detailed schematics for an improved Cortex Vortex and a suspicious-looking space station.
I'm sure it's fine, Coco. You're probably just misinterpreting something. Why would Cortex lie to me about trying to save the world? We're coming up to the halfway point of the game now, and so far we haven't had many problems at all. Sure, the ghost box count is a little high, but we haven't had to break a single box for real yet. I'm actually really hopeful for this run, so let's move on. Level 13, Bear Down, is our second polar level, and yeah, we can't avoid these 4 boxes. We don't actually get control of Crash until after the boxes are already broken, so no matter how hard we move the stick or slam the buttons, we can't do anything to avoid them. I tried jumping far enough past Polar that we could avoid the range to start riding him and just do the level on foot, but again, no luck. We came so far, but unfortunately this means no, it's not possible to beat Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back without breaking any boxes. Just like with my Crash 1 run, I'm not going to end it here and instead make this a minimalist run to try and see how few boxes are needed to break to beat the game. Hopefully, it's less than in Crash 1 at least. So, how many boxes are broken in Bear Down? Well, there aren't any other boxes that are hard to get around, but once again, the game has let a mystery Bandicoot go through ahead of us to set off 2 TNT boxes, meaning we can beat this level adding 4 boxes and 2 ghost boxes to our total, bringing our ghost box count to 44. Instead of using the exit portal, head backwards and jump on these ice platforms to find a portal to the secret warp room. Unfortunately, the level this secret area unlocks is just an alternate path through another level to get some more boxes in it, so there's no real point in us trying this one. Head back up to the third warp room and enter level 14, Road to Ruin. Frill-neck lizard enemies can only be taken out with a slide, so if you can't avoid them, try to send them flying away from any boxes. While it looks pretty tight, you can actually walk around the stacks of boxes like this, which cuts out the risk of accidentally breaking one. The no death path doesn't have any boxes on it, so you can easily score the clear gem here, but the platform that takes us back to the main level cuts out the crystal. If you want, you can die to restart the level or try backtracking, but I'd just complete the level with the gem and do another run for the crystal, as this is a very easy level to do boxless. Level 15, Unbearable, is another boulder chase level, and that's not a boulder. Run, 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 run! Legit though, this is probably one of my favourite levels in the game. Even though there's realistically no difference running from the bear than the boulder in the other levels, it feels much more tense, and the moment Polar suddenly appears and now it's suddenly an animal riding chase segment was just inspired. In the hidden area down this pit, we can get as far as these boxes, but can't get around them. Unfortunately, for as much as I love this level, the bear is just as incompetent at box avoidance as the boulder and smashes through 19 of the things, bringing our ghost box total up to 63. The bear drops down into the pit right at the end, backtrack and jump over the pit to find Polar, who warps us to the secret warp room and unlocks a new level. Unlike the last level in the secret warp room, this is actually a completely new level. It's an animal riding level in the pitch black, making it even more trial and error than the other Polar levels. That being said, you can actually beat this one without breaking any boxes, though there are a few ghost boxes. I'm not going to count these for this run since this level is entirely optional and there's not even a crystal in it, so if you choose to do this one, it's just for bragging rights. Head back up and send Tiny Tiger plummeting down to continue onto the fourth warp room. Level 16, Hanging Out, is our next sewer stage, and you know, I was kind of worried with these, knowing how tight some of the corridors were, but they've actually been pretty easy, so I'm sure that's going to continue with... Yep, there's no way to get around these. The stacks are only 4 boxes high, so theoretically we should be able to jump over them with a slide jump, but there's not enough space to squeeze above them. So what's the minimum number of boxes we need to take out here? Well, obviously the TNT boxes are out of the question, since spinning any of them would take us out as well as the rest of the stack of boxes. The boxes underneath the TNT are also out of the question, since if a TNT drops it will also set off its timer and inevitably destroy the rest of the stack. This means our only option are the 2 boxes in the top left and right corners. Unfortunately, no matter how hard I tried to get these, I would always just spin the TNT underneath. Without being able to break these boxes, the only way to get past this stack is to destroy the lot of them, adding a whopping 12 boxes to our kill count, the most of any single level in either game so far. After you drop down at the end of this section and grab the crystal, you could make your way to the end of the level normally, or instead turn backwards and drop down once again. This monkey bar section is covered in lives, making it a good spot to replenish if you're a little short on them, and if you can get to the end, you'll unlock yet another entirely new level in the secret warp room. Unfortunately, either exit we use is going to bring our box total up to 16, concerningly close to the 17 boxes needed to beat Crash 1. The secret level we unlock from hanging out is Totally Fly. It's another dark stage, but unlike the last, is a more standard platforming one. This gave me memories of fumbling in the dark from Crash 1, but fortunately, since this level uses these fireflies to light it rather than the Aku Akus, we can actually see what we're doing, making this one a lot easier to manage boxless. Again though, just like Totally Bear, this level has no crystals, meaning you don't really have to do it unless you want to. Level 17, Digging It. This is probably my least favourite level theme of the game, mainly due to the annoying enemies. You got these plants that spit explosive gunk seemingly at random areas, making them hard to predict, but what's worse are these bloody bees that chase you down and set off Crash's allergies if you can't get away from their patrol range fast enough. Luckily though, they're not too bad to avoid. This time. Just after the bonus area, at the fork in the road is a no-death path which we can easily avoid all of the boxes on for the clear gem. However, the crystal sits on the other side of the fork. Since backtracking down the path against the bees is not advised and I really don't want to have to replay this level, I'd recommend just dying and respawning at the bonus platform and going down the crystal path normally. To avoid having to do any more of this level than necessary, butt bounce this plant enemy here to portal to the secret warp room, finishing digging it with 0 boxes. Unfortunately, the level we unlock from exiting like this is just another alternate path in an older level, so ignore it and move on. Level 18, Cold Hard Crash, is probably the hardest level in the game. It's really long with lots of difficult platforming, and the bonus stage is in like the first third of the level, meaning we still need to play through most of it perfectly to get through. The ice physics are now at peak annoying as well, with seemingly most of this level covered in this stuff. Building up momentum is such a slog, and once you have built it up, good luck slowing down for any precise platforming. Unfortunately as well, this level also forces us to break more boxes. Approaching this TNT box causes an icicle to fall on it starting its timer, and when it blows up it takes the question mark box out with it. Now, since we didn't directly cause these boxes to be destroyed, I'm counting them as ghost boxes, but that's not the end of it for this level. This stack here should be able to be jumped over with a sliding jump, but despite it looking like we have the room to make it over, apparently the ceiling on this area is a lot lower than it appears, making getting over it impossible. By sliding towards the screen right next to the bottom box closest to us, we can just break that one, giving us enough room to slide jump over, but unfortunately that's not all we have to break. Just after this stack is a wide and high gap even a sliding jump won't cross. Perform a similar slide to before to break the box closest to the back. Sometimes the hedgehog here will glitch out and freeze in place, but if it does come chasing after you, stand back and wait for it to de-aggro. While walking back to the start position, it'll get stuck on the remaining box, allowing us to carefully jump it. Activate the switch crate and continue on in the level. Originally, I was just going to ignore the no death path, as it's infamous as possibly the single hardest part of this game due to the incredibly tight platforming around Nitros on ice. But when I continued the rest of the level normally, I eventually found we would need to break a minimum of 2 more boxes to get through. Since the no death path skips over the area these boxes are in and has no mandatory boxes of its own, this makes it required to beat this level. Luckily, going through it not going for the box breaking gem isn't all that hard, as we don't need to do any backtracking. The only part of this that's really a challenge is weaving between these nitros here while fighting the ice physics. Take it slow, and with a few good attempts you can thread the needle perfectly and get through to grab a free clear gem. The rest of the level has no boxes we need to break, meaning we can do this with just 2 boxes and 2 ghost boxes. Unfortunately though, this brings our total to 65 ghost boxes and 18 normal boxes broken, just a little more than the Crash 1 run. That's fine. I'm not frustrated at all. Moving on. Level 19, Ruination. Luckily, this is a pretty easy one. Since we have the green gem, we can take the alternate path for a clear gem. There's also an unboxed Aku Aku on the gem path, giving us our first non-pity Aku Aku of the game. Once we're done, the gem platform spits us back out on the normal path just before the crystal, meaning we won't need to backtrack or play this level twice this time. There's actually another unboxed Aku Aku just after the crystal. Not sure why they decided to pack so many into this level when they're so rare in the rest of this game, but I'm not complaining. Beat Ruination with an easy 0 boxes. Up next is level 20, Behaving, and this one is essentially digging it without the devs holding back. The spitting plants are way more numerous and annoyingly placed. The bees have apparently been breeding like crazy, because now each hive has like 6 of the things, meaning in a pinch you can't even spin them away because the spin will end before you get them all. Luckily, we can dig down under the ground by spinning on these muddy patches to avoid them, but then we put ourselves at risk of being pummeled by these mallet dudes. Things are pretty easy till the 3rd beehive. Make sure to dig under the ground well away from the nitros to avoid setting them off. Also, be careful not to dig when the bees are too close, as digging is technically spinning and can still send them flying into boxes. Also, while under the ground, don't dig under any boxes, as this will also break them. When you come to this area, dig underground and weave between the boxes carefully and position yourself between the singular and the row of nitros. Dig out, hopefully far enough away from the nitros to not spin them, and jump over the row, then quickly make your way to the end of the bee's patrol range. When approaching the mallet enemy here, stick to the left wall and spin them to avoid sending them flying off into this stack of boxes. If you're observant, you might notice something strange about this nitro staircase. For one, they aren't moving around like normal nitros, and for 2, they're placed really weirdly in positions that you can easily avoid. If you get curious enough, you might just jump on them and end up finding a secret path. I died after the purple gem here, and since this level's already getting under my skin, I'm not going to bother retrying it over and just take the gem and run. Luckily, the rest of the level isn't too hard boxless, but that doesn't mean it's still not hard. But with enough attempts, we can finally get through completely boxless. With this warp room done, our hero Cortex tells us to give the crystals we've already collected to his buddy Engine to keep them safe from the nefarious embryo, but this dude's clearly betrayed us since he just attacks us out of nowhere, forcing us to defend ourselves.
What is your problem, Bandicoot?
Dude, calm down. I know you're new to this whole good guy thing, but you gotta start keeping better company. We're into the final stretch now, so let's get this done with. Level 21, Piston It Away. This is a fairly easy one. Most of the enemies here are either most easily or only disposable with a slide, so be careful not to send them flying into boxes. Unfortunately though, the no death path this time is off limits, since we have to spin this scientist into a nitro box to get by. Since this happens before we can even pick up the gem, this is one we can't get at all. Luckily, there are no boxes that pose any challenge on the main path, so this is an easy level in the bag. Level 22, Rocket, is our first jetpack level and is extremely easy boxless. The controls for the jetpack are a little confusing to get your head around, but once you do, you'll be able to avoid boxes in literally every direction, making this an easy no-box clear. Level 23, Night Fight. This is the only mandatory night level in the game, and like Totally Fly, is an easy boxless one. There's an optional no death path we can complete for a gem, but it's another one that spits us out past the crystal. Due to the whole Firefly gimmick of this level, backtracking isn't really an option, so either do it twice or just die after grabbing the gem. Either way, this one's no trouble whatsoever. Level 24, Pack Attack. This is another jetpack level, and it might just be because I'm completely used to the jetpack controls at this point, but this one's even easier than the first, so I'm gonna use this as an opportunity to talk about how weird I've always felt the spread of level themes in the latter half of this game is. The first 3 warp rooms introduce and spread around new level themes really well. Ice levels are introduced in the first warp room and then repeated in the second and fourth. Chase levels are introduced in the first, and we get a repeat in the second and third. Heck, even the Ruined Temple theme introduced in the third warp room gets an encore in the fourth. But with the levels introduced in the 4th and especially the 5th, we don't really get that spread. We only get 2 B levels, both in the 4th warp room, and the 5th warp room is made up of only 3 themes, all completely unique to this, except for the night levels, which we only see elsewhere in the secret warp room. I don't know, it's not really a problem, and I get why they did this, especially keeping all of the spacey, tech-themed levels for the final warp room, but I still think it would have been cooler if they could have made the spread of levels a little bit more even throughout. Anyway, that's completely off topic. Let's get on to the final level. Level 25, Spaced Out, our final level of the game. Let's do this. For the most part, again, this one's fairly simple. Unfortunately, we're missing the red gem, meaning we can't access the entirety of the path made up of all the coloured gems. We can still score a lot of lives in this path though, so if you're really hurting for them, you can restock here. Though, this far into the game, it's not that important. Getting over the stack of boxes right outside the coloured gem path requires a sliding jump, but you have to be very careful with your timing to avoid getting squashed by the piston just on the other side. Of course, it can't be too easy for the last level. Just like with the no death path in Piston It Away, there's a scientist enemy with a shield we have to beat back into a nitros to get rid of them. Since this is on the main path and not an alternate path this time, we can't avoid this, making it a required box. The rest of the level doesn't have anything any harder than in a normal run fortunately, meaning that only 1 box is added to our total, bringing us to 19 boxes and 84 ghost boxes broken. With all the levels done, we can take on our final boss of the game, Cortex. Wait, Cortex was a bad guy? With Cortex once again defeated, we can conclude that it is not possible to beat Crash Bandicoot 2 Cortex Strikes Back without breaking any boxes. It takes a minimum of 19, 2 more than in our Crash 1 run, and that's if you don't include the ghost boxes, which would bring our total up to an unacceptable 84, 47 more than the equivalent in Crash 1. This was incredibly disappointing to me. The movement in Crash 2 is so much better, and I'm just more familiar with the game, so I was almost sure that we could do it boxless, but apparently not. Hey, at least we got further in than the second level this time. If you have any ideas for how to avoid any of the boxes I couldn't in this run, please let me know in the comments below. I think the best spot to look for skips would be in Hanging Out, as if I can avoid all of these boxes here, it would cut our total down by over half. While you're down there leaving a comment, why not like and subscribe, and maybe check out another one of my vids. Until next time, I'm Katie Cat, and thank you for watching.